Asate out here in Singapore, and you're listening to the Night Owl podcast. Yes, a little bit early this morning. It is Wednesday morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and you know what? I'm, kicking ass and taking names already. This is how this day goes at the moment. So I wanted to jump on here real quick because I was listening to one of E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher. That's Dr. Eric Thomas, for those of y'all who know. He is one of my favorites. He's one of the people I listen to like first thing in the morning, kind of get my mind right, get me all motivated and like just amped up to tackle this list of things I got to do today. So I was listening to him. He was talking about the DISC assessment, right? And I'm thinking about, okay, how much do I know about the DISC assessment? I don't think I've ever taken it. Maybe I need to research more about it. But as he's talking, it has a different way of explaining stuff. And I mean, I don't know enough to be able to tell you right now. But what I wanted to explain is he was absolutely right about this one concept, because every single one of us does this. We kind of know what we like. We kind of know what we don't like. We don't know enough to be able to say it out loud, usually, to be able to communicate to the next person. But we know enough to be able to, I prefer this. I don't prefer this. We don't know enough to be able to say why. Okay, we haven't dug into why we like to be in control, or why we like attention, or why we are very, very, maybe physical, like being very affectionate, stuff like that. So we don't know why, but we know, right, that we like to do this. And unwittingly, we assume that everybody is just like us, right? I mean, you're like me, right? So if I treat you the way I expect to be treated, that's exactly how everything will work out. It must be your fault if you don't, reciprocate. So here's where the problem begins, though. Us assuming that the rest of the world is just like us and then treating people just like we want to be treated does not mean that we're going to have great communication. Usually it means that you haven't taken the time to get to know me or the other person, and we're going to end up butting heads every so often, right? When we're first getting to know each other, chances are I'm trying to impress you. Chances are I want to make sure that I get to that next conversation. We talked about this before. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that I don't offend you, and you're going to call me back. You're going to message me. You're going to answer me when I message you. You know what I mean? But a lot of times we don't take into consideration that everybody has a different operating system. And it's not that there's only Microsoft and only Apple. There are so many. There's so many ways, so many different combinations of why we operate the way that we do. Okay? So from what I understood from his conversation, and I see it in my life as well. I've done it before as well. Um, it's the reason that I end up fighting with a lot of my family members. Each of us, okay? There's 5 of us in my immediate family: my mom, my dad, my 2 brothers, and me, okay? Let's throw my baby girl in there too. So that's 6. There's 6 people in my immediate family, and every last one of us has a different operating system, as in the rules by which I govern my life are different from each other. Even though I was raised by the 2 people, right? And I was raised around my 2 brothers, and I raised my daughter, there are a lot of similarities, the way we go about things completely different. So this is where I wanted to make sure that you understand what I'm talking about, right? If I talk about me and baby girl, Kutiji, very, very loving, very sweet young lady, but she has her own way of doing things. Everything has to be done in her own time. When she's ready to give you a hug, she'll give you a hug. If she feels like she wants to be all clingy, she will be clingy. If I ask her for a kiss, and I'm telling you, you have seen it. If you know anything about me, if you're a friend of mine, you know this. If I ask her for a kiss, she'll brush me off. Like, no, not right now. Huh? What? Really? Like, you gonna push me off like that? And it's offensive to me until I realized that this is just the way she is, right? And then the compassion kicked in. It's like I needed to have the empathy. I needed to get to know why she does what she does, if she's even capable of telling me. Otherwise, I need to observe and realize, okay, this is a trend. This is generally how she is. I can't fault her for being who she is. I can't. Not if I want to be taken seriously and I want to be who I am. I need to give her space. So, that being said, what ends up happening usually is we'll go a few rounds, we'll have the same situation pop up a couple times, and then finally I'll sit down and be like, all right, you keep doing this. Why are you doing this? Do you know what you're doing? What is it? Are you distracted? Are you mad at me? What does this mean? And it's the same for a lot of relationships. When you're first starting out, right, and you're worried about whether you talk to them again, whether you hear from them again, the first thing you want to do every time they go silent or something happens or it's not to your preference, what you want to do is go dig at them, be like, why don't you do this? You need to do this though, but how come? Like, why don't you understand? You need to be like me, right? You're like me, right? So then you understand that when you do this, it's offensive to me. Usually we don't explain it like that though. Oh my God, why didn't you write me back? You should have written me back. Like, it's been so long. I saw you seeing the message. How come you ain't write me back? Not realizing that maybe text is not their thing. Maybe they'd rather have a phone call. Maybe they don't like being bothered with their phone so much. It could be one of a million things, but guess what? We gonna fill in the gap, aren't we? We gonna make up the reason for why they're not doing what we want them to do. And then we gonna hold it against them. Poor bastard. They don't even know that we're doing this, usually, until the fight gets so big and they're like, I just don't like blah. But we don't have those conversations. And usually when it's like, we need to talk, or I got a question, they're like, oh God. Oh my God, what does this mean? Like, oh, this is the end of days. That's that 3 word, like, death sentence. Okay, 4 words. We need to talk. 4 words, right? So they start panicking. But the point being that we need to talk more often. I realize that in my relationship with my mom needs to feel like she's right. It's just the way it is. It's the way she was raised. Her mom was right. So then she needs the same thing that her mom had because she feels like she'd been through life. You know, she's been through that child phase, the teenage phase, the young adult phase. She has kids. She has a grandkid now. She's in my grandmother's level, right? She feels like it's owed to me. If I say it, it's right. I don't want to hear your explanations of shit. I don't want to know like that there's other ways of doing things. This is it. This is the way things are done. That doesn't work for me so much, and we tend to fight because I also want to be right. But in situations with my mom, I usually let her take the lead because I know she needs that. I know this is how she operates, and at her age, she's not going to change none of that. And she may understand psychology a little bit. She may come down and listen to me a little bit, but for the most part, she needs the respect. She needs the decorum. She needs the duty-bound daughter because that's who she is, and that's who her mother was, and that's just the way things are. It's always been this way. This is the way it should be. For her, she knows that when people come to visit, I need to immediately get up and go give hugs and say hello and blah, blah, blah. Me and my daughter, different. I need her to make eye contact and say hello. She does not have to touch the person if she doesn't want to. Why? Because I've been through a sexual trauma. I've been through a situation where touching, I got to be careful with that because I don't always know what it means, and you may not understand it the way I understand it. So I'm just going to avoid that altogether. Usually. Unless I get a good vibe from you and then I'm like, okay, this is harmless, no problem, no harm done. I'm gonna give you a hug and we call it a day. No problem. But with my daughter, I'm not gonna push her one way or another. But you will be respectful, you will make eye contact, smile, and say, hey, that's it. Easy. I mean, you're not really giving off of nothing when you do that. That's okay. Me and my brothers, different set of communication still. Different way of living life. Let's leave the communication out of it. Let's talk about the behaviors, the habits, right? My youngest brother, chill dude, super chill. So chill, you have to light a fire under him to get him moving. So chill. Okay? Me, I like to stay busy. I like to have like 10,000 things happen at the same time because I know I can manage it all and I get all the work done. I feel good about that. I am task oriented. You give me a checklist, I'm gonna work on the checklist. Sometimes, okay, there are some times where I'm just procrastination central, but usually I'm gonna work on the checklist. My brother, he's gonna do what is absolutely necessary for him to get through that day, and then he'll work on tomorrow. That's it. He's going to look at it as a matter of priority. Is it really important? Does it need to get done today? Is there a deadline? And if there's not, I'm going to handle it tomorrow. That's just who he is. And there's nothing wrong with that. It kind of clashes with my style. But if I treat him like I expect to be treated, if I talk to him like I expect people to, appreciate the things that I do and everything, we have a problem. Because that's not the way he operates. So our assumption that everybody is just like us, completely wrong, which is why empathy and compassion is so important. You need to get to know the other person. You need to spend the time with the other person and see, what are they about? Can they manage these things? Is it too much to ask of them? One piece of advice from a very unlikely source, because I don't ever get good advice from this person. One person told me, look, just because they don't love you the way you love them doesn't mean they don't love you with all they have. And I was like, whoa, that's profound. Wow. I didn't know you knew that. But you know what? Thank you for sharing that with me because I forgot that that's how that works too. Listen to that again. Just because someone loves you and it's not the way that you want it to be doesn't mean they don't love you with all they have. Which means, people, if someone is not loving you the way you need them to, you need to tell them what you need, and then you need to leave it up to them to decide whether they can accommodate what you're asking, or is it too much for them based on their trauma, their history, what they can and can't, what they're comfortable and not comfortable doing. But in order for you to get there, you need to ask. And a lot of us are like, why should I ask? That should be a given. If you love me, this is what you should be doing. But yeah, But everybody shows love differently. This is why they have the 5 love languages. This is why they have the 6 human needs. This is why they have DISC assessments so you can understand each other. This is why you have the term introvert, extrovert, ambivert, whatever. Right? This is why we talk energy. Some people need to replenish their energy. Some people can't be around people. Some people love being around people, they get amped up. Some people be around people, they get drained. Everybody is different. And if you don't learn to talk to each other, man, you go suffer some unnecessary damn conversations and like some stupid arguments. So if you take nothing else away from this podcast episode, I want you to remember, you can't expect everybody to be like you. You can't paint the world with your colors. You got to understand the world as it is and then see if you can manage in those places or not. It's very simple then. If I know I'm a very huggy person and I happen to be with somebody who's not so huggy, guess what? I need to tell them I need this to feel important. And usually with the 5 love languages, it's not just one thing. It's a combination of things. So I'm going to give you my top 3 and I'll be like, if you can, show me these things. And then I know you love me. This is how I feel like you love me. And if they can't, you need to be okay with the answer, I can't. And then it becomes, okay, well, can I compromise? How do I show you love then? How do we make sure both of us get what we need? We need to be able to communicate our needs first. And then we need to be ready for the answer that comes along with it. We are so afraid of the no, I can't do it. And then it's like, oh my God, you broke up with me. And that's not the case. We parted ways because we're not a good fit. Bring on the next one. That's the way we should be looking at it, but we take everything so personal. So this is what I'm trying to tell you, right? You can't treat the world and expect them to treat you the way you expect to be treated. Everybody is different. Everybody has a different operating system. You got to get to know the programming, which means tons of conversations. I hope this helps you guys. Anyway, I'm going to call it a day. I got to get in the kitchen because it's meal prep day, and I'm going to talk to y'all later. Bye.